Okay, so let's just back up a bit. Google loses two of its star researchers. Noam Shazier goes to OpenAI. John Jumper goes to Anthropic. We didn't have a great sense at the time, well, at the time that Noam left, at least, why it was he may have made the jump. What do we know now about these two departures?
There's still quite a bit of mystery around these, but Erin has learned a couple of interesting things in her reporting. First of all, Shazier told people before he left that Google had shifted away or really kind of combined the computing resources for his project that he was working on with that of other teams, and so basically diminished his access to compute. It's not exactly clear how that shaped his thinking, but obviously something very important. And he's been doing work. Shazier, of course, is one of the co-authors of the seminal AI paper on transformers that kind of gave birth to the current AI boom. He's been doing work on sort of new architectures for AI beyond transformers. So the access to compute obviously is a big issue inside Google, and something that he flagged to people before he left. The other thing is that Google's CTO, in announcing his departure internally, said that it was very sudden. So, clearly there was some abrupt rupture here. The exact linkage isn't clear, but this was something that happened suddenly and happened after this compute issue.
Right. Okay. So Google is left to pick up the pieces, I guess, of these two departures. And I should say that, they lost one Nobel Prize winner, but they still, I mean, Demis is also a Nobel Prize winner, right? So it's,
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
down 50% on Nobel
yeah,
Prize.
in some
Yeah.
sense, I mean, can't stack the whole team in
Yeah.
some cases. But okay, so Google is left to pick up the pieces. So what did we learn then about how they are reorganizing themselves to address this moment?
Yeah, so some of these, this is sort of an evolution of things that have been in the works in recent months, going back to when Aaron scooped the creation of what they call like a code strike team in Google to accelerate its efforts to build AI coding tools. And what they're doing now is uh, sort of that's only months old, but they're restructuring it and expanding its remit. And making it a more permanent thing. Part of what they're doing is to try to make it easier for them to. They're changing the way that they do training of Google's models to make it easier for them to enhance the capabilities, not only in coding but in other sort of white collar applications, which is something we're seeing at the rivals, Anthropic and OpenAI, which are kind of further ahead in this area of enterprise AI than Google is. Both Claude Code and Codex products are being expanded into other areas adjacent to coding, trying to develop the same success that Anthropic's had with coding in other areas. So Google's change in the way it's training these models, and the expansion of the remit of this strike team, making of it permanent, is designed to sort of enhance the ability to improve those products where Google's been a laggard.
Now, one of the things that Aaron focused on in the story is this concept of mid training. What is mid training, and why is that so important right now?
Yeah, I mean, this stuff can kind of make your head spin a little bit, all the jargon. But we tend to group the creation of these models into pre-training and post-training. And pre-training, where you're sort of building the basic intelligence, you're building the model, it's learning. And post-training, we're kind of adapting it to specific functions. This is a disaggregation of that. So you're taking that learning process and enabling the models to become more specialized in what they can do before you get into the post-training process of adapting, like how they interact with users, the model's behavior. And again, this is the goal seems to be to try to enable the models to be better at specific functions like coding, et cetera, before you get into the behavior part, just the underlying intelligence to be better before you get into the behavior aspect of it.
Okay, so let's go back to the strike team that Google has established. Aaron had reported that this team it came together a couple months ago. They've now changed the organization of it a bit. Do we know how big the team is, who's in it, how much power they have internally in the organization? Like, is this kind of like the equivalent to I don't know, I'm thinking at Meta, like Meta has the super intelligence group. Like, is this just a coding specific group or is this the group?
I think their remit is expanding now. It's been a pretty important team inside this, and we know that in part because not only is it's led by a DeepMind veteran engineer who's been there for 8 years, but is also had the involvement of the DeepMind CTO as well as Google co-founder Sergey Brin. So this has been something that's been very important for the company. And I think, though we haven't really seen the tangible results yet in terms of them closing the gap in a meaningful way with their competitors on things like coding tools, the fact that they're sort of solidifying this team and making it more permanent and expanding its areas of focus suggests that they think that it's working.
Yeah. Why do you think that is though that we haven't seen results in coding? I mean, Google has excelled at seemingly every other part of AI, including chips now. Coding seems like I don't know, you're a software like how did you miss the boat on coding? Why do we think they haven't been able to crack that?
Well, I think, part of it is they were late to it, and kind of everybody was late to it except for Anthropic, right? Anthropic figured this out before others, whether that was through some great visionary foresight or sort of they stumbled into it. There could be a debate, but they were first to it. That's been the killer app in the enterprise in terms of generating revenue. OpenAI is trying to be a fast follow there. Google's trying to be a fast follow also, perhaps not as fast. I think also what Aaron's reporting shows is that there was an initial faith that if you build the underlying model, the coding capabilities will come. And it's clearly not that simple. You need to do more than just make a really smart model that can do everything. You really need to focus on enabling those capabilities, and that's part of what they're trying to do now.
Right. Last question for you, Jason. The latest Gemini model, we are expecting it. I think Aaron had reported we were expecting it in June. It hasn't been released yet. Do we have any updates on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a few days left in June, which is what they said. This is Gemini 3.5 Pro. They came out with Flash at Google I/O last month and said that the Pro version would be the sort of flagship model would be available in June. Not here yet. It's looking much more like it's going to be July. I mean, the exact timing, if it slips into July, perhaps not the biggest deal. I think the bigger question is, will it,
Be
what
better.
will it be, and will it be
It
that much better? Yeah.
right, and I mean, early in the I guess, based on Aaron's reporting, it seems like that still is not going to rise to the level of Fable yet.
Right, right. Which, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that means it won't be sort of banned or restricted by the administration.
Yeah, I mean, Anthropic is still quite loud about it. You go on Claude, I mean, they still have the bar there, as long as they have that rule in place, they are very loud about the fact that, "Look, it's not our fault."
They're getting marketing mileage out of it, if nothing else.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, Jason, I want to thank you for coming on. That is Jason Dean, our San Francisco bureau chief here at The Information.